He thought he was teaching his son a lesson about power, but that afternoon he exposed something far deeper, something money could never buy. The millionaire stood tall in the garden of his grand white mansion, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, as if the world itself answered to him. In front of him stood 5 elegant women in expensive dresses, each wealthy, polished, and carefully selected. And a few steps away, near the edge of the lawn, stood the cleaning lady in her simple uniform, holding yellow gloves in her hands, unsure why she had been told to remain outside. The boy, only 8 years old, stood between them, small in a black suit, his face serious beyond his years. His mother had died 2 years earlier. Since then, the house had felt like a museum. Beautiful, silent, cold. The millionaire, Mr. Harrison, believed everything could be solved with the right investment. He built companies from nothing. He controlled markets. He influenced politicians. But he could not control grief. And instead of healing, he chose replacement. He told his son that it was time to choose a new mother. He said it calmly, like a business decision. He said a strong household required a suitable woman. He said love could grow later. The 5 wealthy women smiled carefully, each hoping to secure not just a marriage, but a future of luxury and influence. The cleaning lady lowered her eyes, embarrassed to even be standing nearby. Her name was Maria. She had worked in the house quietly for 3 years. She cleaned the hallways, polished the silver, and made sure the boy's room was always neat. She spoke little. She never overstepped. She knew her place. Mr. Harrison pointed toward the 5 women and told his son to look carefully. He explained their achievements, their social status, their education. He spoke of connections and reputations. The boy listened without expression. Then his father surprised everyone by saying, "You may choose any woman here to become your new mother." The women straightened their posture. The air grew tense. The boy looked at each of them slowly. One smiled too brightly. Another winked playfully. One adjusted her necklace. Another whispered something about how she adored children. The last one simply stared at the mansion as if already calculating renovations. The boy's eyes then moved to the side. To Maria. She froze. She shook her head slightly, as if to say she did not belong in this moment. Mr. Harrison followed his son's gaze and frowned. "She is staff," he said firmly. "She is not part of this." The boy did not answer immediately. Sadness had lived in his eyes for 2 years. He missed his mother in quiet ways. At night, at breakfast, on birthdays, none of the wealthy women had ever sat beside him when he cried. None had noticed when he refused dessert because it reminded him of her. Maria had. She never said much, but she left warm milk outside his door when he could not sleep. She fixed his school uniform when he tore it. She once stayed late to help him finish a handmade Mother's Day card he could not bring himself to throw away. She never asked for anything in return. Mr. Harrison repeated his instruction. "Choose." The boy took a small step forward. His voice was soft but clear. He pointed at Maria. The garden fell silent. One of the women laughed nervously. Another looked offended. Mr. Harrison's expression hardened. "This is not a game," he said. "Choose properly." The boy did not lower his hand. "I already did," he replied. Helplessness filled the air. Maria felt her face burn with humiliation. She expected to be dismissed. Perhaps even fired for overstepping without intending to. Mr. Harrison walked toward his son and knelt to his level. He tried to reason with him. He spoke of status, of image, of what people would say. The boy listened, then asked quietly, "Did any of them ever stay with me when I was scared?" His father hesitated. "Did any of them remember Mom's favorite song?" Silence answered. The boy continued, "Maria did." The wealthy women shifted uncomfortably. One checked her phone. Another whispered that this was absurd. Mr. Harrison stood up slowly. He was not used to being challenged. Especially not publicly. Especially not by his own child. His pride battled with something unfamiliar. Doubt. He realized he knew very little about his son's grief. He had buried himself in work, believing success would protect them both. He looked at Maria properly for the first time. Not as staff. Not as background. As a person. She stood trembling but dignified. "I never tried to replace anyone," she said softly. "I only wanted him to feel less alone." Her words carried no ambition. Only sincerity. Something shifted in the atmosphere. The power that had felt absolute began to crack. The millionaire dismissed the 5 women politely but firmly. Their smiles vanished. Their heels clicked sharply as they left. The garden grew quiet again. He turned to Maria and asked if she would be willing to speak privately. She nodded, unsure of what would come next. Days passed. Conversations happened behind closed doors. The boy waited patiently. He did not beg. He did not cry. He trusted his choice. Mr. Harrison began observing more. He noticed how Maria spoke to the staff with respect. How she corrected the boy gently but firmly. How she never sought attention. He asked about her life. He learned she had lost her own husband years earlier and raised a daughter alone before sending her to university with savings earned through hard work. She understood loss. She understood responsibility. She understood love without condition. For the first time, the millionaire felt something he had avoided for years. Humility. He realized he had tried to purchase stability instead of building it. Weeks later, he gathered the household again. This time there were no wealthy candidates. No audience. Just him, his son, and Maria. He looked at his son and said, "I was wrong to think money decides everything." He then turned to Maria and asked if she would consider becoming part of their family, not as an employee, but as an equal partner, if she truly wished to. Maria's eyes filled with tears. She did not answer immediately. She asked the boy first, "Are you sure?" He nodded without hesitation. Justice did not arrive with applause. It arrived quietly, through recognition and change. The marriage was simple. Private. No grand headlines. People whispered, of course. Some mocked. But inside the mansion, warmth returned. The museum became a home. Laughter replaced echoes. The millionaire changed too. He began spending evenings at the dinner table instead of in boardrooms. He learned that leadership in business does not equal leadership in family. The boy grew brighter, lighter. And Maria, once invisible in a uniform with yellow gloves, became the heart of the household, not because she was chosen out of pity, but because she had already been acting like a mother long before anyone noticed. In the end, the greatest shock was not that the boy chose the cleaning lady. It was that the most powerful man in the room finally understood that love cannot be selected from a lineup of wealth. It must be recognized in quiet actions, patient kindness, and steady presence. And sometimes, the one who stands silently at the edge of the garden is the one who has been holding everything together all along.